It's the start of a brand new Michelin Le Mans Cup season for 2019, a championship that started in 2016 with only GT3 cars. It quickly developed the following year to add prototypes as well. And we're in for a bumper entry throughout 2019 with visits to Le Mans itself, of course, with the Road to Le Mans event. 2 races that week, Thursday morning and Saturday morning, and then the more regular season, which takes part or forms part of several 2-hour races. And we are here in the south of France, about an hour's drive east of Marseille, for round number 1. My name's Johnny Palmer. Welcome on board. I'm delighted to say once again I'm joined by Graham Goodwin, the editor of dailysportscar.com, and a goodly proportion of crowd here this weekend, enjoying, thankfully now, some warmish, certainly sunny weather. It's been a strange old week in the south of France, not used to coolish temperatures and quite a bit of rain, but that's all in the past, Graham.
Yeah, it's been all very English, the weather, over the last week or so. We've had 2 days of testing for the European Le Mans Series cars. We'll see later today, of course, and then we had a day testing 2 days ago for the Le Mans Cup cars, 31 cars for the season, and a fantastic grid for that series. But you're absolutely right. We've had stormy weather, we've had thunderstorms, high winds, not a little rain. But now look at that. I mean, 15 degrees C. It is cool with the breeze, but bright sunshine. Only just a little bit of wispy high cloud, and it is a beautiful summer's day here in the foothills and on the edge of Provence.
Wonderful to be back here, endurance racing. Actually, this place was built with an endurance race as its first event in 1970. Brian Redman won a World Sports Car Championship race in April. So big year next year for Circuit Paul Ricard, celebrating its 50th anniversary. And I'm sure it'll be on the calendar somewhere along the line for the European Le Mans Series and the Michelin Le Mans Cup. This is a championship very much geared towards the bronze driver. There's an idea of the track that we're racing this weekend. 14 corners. And I think, now I'm trying to recall back 12 months, I reckon we were using the chicane on the Mistral Straight 12 months ago. That's not the case this time around. So 14 corners and the full 1.1 mile, 1.8 kilometre Mistral Straight, Lindois du Mistral, and it out of turn 7. That means, well, that sequence through 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 is crucial for a good lap time around here, and then that run into Signes corner. So we start at Le Castellet, on to Monza after that, the 11th of May. Then the double header, 50% points on offer on Thursday morning at Le Mans and on Saturday, and then the regular season continues at Barcelona, and then on to Spa in Belgium, and that's in September, and we finish the season at Portimao in Portugal in October. And already we have GT cars going out onto track. Now this is a split qualifying at 15 minutes per classification. So GT3s will go out first of all for their 15 minutes, and we'll then have the LMP3 cars, all 21 of them, trying to find some track space around this relatively short 5.8 kilometre circuit to lock out the front positions. And generally the LMP3s will be the quicker of the cars. There is a small bit of overlap that we have sometimes when the grid is issued, that the 2 classes aren't separated after qualifying, i.e. we don't have a chunk of LMP3s and a chunk of GT3s at the back. We could potentially have the pole sitter in GT3 ahead of some of the prototypes.
Absolutely, but what we do have is a bigger GT grid this season. 10 cars will take to the track, and it's a lovely mix as well. 3 AMG Mercedes, a Lamborghini Huracan, the Porsche, several Ferraris, and, well, the ACO rules debut of this car, the GT3 version of Aston Martin's new turbocharged V8 Aston Martin Vantage, and Beechdene AMR make their return to ACO rules racing. I'd be interested to see how that new car fares in amongst the established order.
Yeah, we've never had Beechdene represented in the Michelin Le Mans Cup.
Nope, they've done the LMS, haven't we?
Yes, so it's great to have Andrew Howard, a many-time British GT champion. I think he's signed up again for another season of British GT along with this, racing with long work colleague, friend Ross Gunn, who has come through the Aston Martin factory programme and been coached by, well, all the great guys like Darren Turner and Johnny Adam as well. And Ross will be a wonder in this race, I think. But as I say, it is all about bronze drivers in qualifying. We're not going to see Ross. We're not going to see any of the silvers during the next 15 minutes.
We are going to see this car, though. This is number 51 Spirit of Race Ferrari. And that car is going to go out in the hands of a returning name for the Michelin Le Mans Cup, Christoph Ulrich, will be aboard the 51 car for Spirit of Race.
Very AF Corsa type numbers, those Ferraris, 51 and 71.
Absolutely.
Which is the Lucich Racing entry.
Green flag is out, Johnny, so we're going to be getting cars on track immediately.
Lucich, a new name, by the way, to both ELMS and the Michelin Le Mans Cup. We'll learn a little more about them as we go, but also from Switzerland. Very AF Corsa beneath the surface, though.
So first two cars out onto the circuit here are the brand new 2019 specification Porsche 911 GT3R from EB Motors. And that car will emerge in the hands of Venerisi. Saw this car go very well, in particular at Monza last year. Behind is Andrew Howard in his brand new baby, the Aston Martin, as always numbered 99, in deference to the ice cream of that name.
Yeah, although I don't think Beechstein actually make 99s, do they? I suppose all you need is a flake.
There's not a flake in it either, no.
EB Motors, former champions of this particular category. That was 2017, and it then gave them an entry to Le Mans. I mean, that's how crucial this championship is.
It's been a massively successful part of the mix for the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Whilst we have had seasons where there's not been that many GT cars, every single champion in the GT3 class has gone on to graduate to GTE and the European Le Mans Series, and in the case of TF Sport, after a year there, into the FI World Endurance Championship. So it has been an extremely successful part of the mix. Here comes the Beechstein Aston Martin to the end of the Mistral Straight, behind the, well, very, very orange Scuderia Villorba Corsa Lamborghini.
Yes, there are two entries from Scuderia Villorba Corsa, but they're very different paint schemes. You got the bright orange, as Graham says, of the Lamborghini, and the Mercedes car number 7 that was parked up in the pit lane a moment or two ago. So it might be that Roberto Pampanini is deciding to sit out a small portion of this first bit of the session.
Aboard the Lamborghini, another returning face, there's a Cedric Mazar. I think showing that car was DVS. From memory, they were Kessel Ferrari last year, were they not?
Yes, and I think they raced previously as well with other teams, so they're no stranger to the Michelin Le Mans Cup, certainly. Cracking to have the SVC on the front of that Lamborghini once again. Villorba Corsa certainly not new to Michelin Le Mans Cup either. So there's the other paint scheme from Scuderia Villorba Corsa, the gold and the black, which looks spectacular for Roberto Pampanini and his teammate Mauro Calamia. Calamia going to sit out qualifying because he's the silver, and we'll see him in the race probably more likely at the end. But I do like it when the silver drivers put in at the start of the 2-hour race, which happens, of course, today. That's a 4 p.m. local start through till 6 o'clock tonight.
So we're still waiting to see one car leave pit lane. And that's the number 71 Lucich Racing car. It's another car handled by Marta Ferrari's gallant crew. The 71 car is down on pit lane. So some good-looking cars this year. That Scuderia Villorba Corsa AMG does look great in the sunshine, doesn't it?
They all look great in the sunshine with, the glint on that red and black paintwork. Mikkel Mack's name is shown against Lucich Racing, but it can't be him.
No, it can't.
Because he's a gold, and just like Stevie S, will be reserved for the race and no more.
And indeed, Mikkel, a returning champion from the ELMS, and comes here actually as a reigning champion from the International GT Open Series. John Hartshorn is aboard the other Kessel Racing car, the number 50 car, the red 488 GT3. But waiting for the first flying laps to come in, and that is going to come the way of the number 88 Porsche, Venerisi.
Pampanini far more concentrated on trying to get some heat into the Michelin tyres. On to lap 2 now, and he's still zigzagging away at the start of the Mistral Straight. Needing to be careful if you are doing that someone's not on a quick lap behind you, because you could very easily pose a huge problem for a car on a fast lap. Heading now into the final few corners of this Paul Ricard circuit, so into Virage du Lac and Virage du Pont, because it crosses one of the internal roads, du Pont being bridge, of course, and those Porsche then heading out of the final corner and back across the timing line. Aston Martin not very far away either, driven by Andrew Howard, who now goes second. So Paolo Venerossi for Ebi Motors, the first to complete a lap. It's a 2:03.662, and only a quarter of a second slower is now Cedric Mezar for Scuderia Villorba Corsa in the Lamborghini, the bright orange machine, and the brand new Aston Martin of Andrew Howard, about 3.4 seconds back. So that's more of a banker, I'd say, from the Brit, and he'll give it the beans perhaps next time around, just allowing those tyres to come into their optimum operating window.
We've had the way the rub of the green goes with these qualifying sessions, particularly in GT over the last 2 or 3 years, Johnny, is we do tend to see a bit of a rush of times at the start of the session, but then things get much closer right at the very end. We've got just under 10 minutes to go, plenty of lappery still to come.
Yeah, and that's also the nature of the way that qualifying is organised, is regulated, because it is the lesser experience of the two drivers put into the car. You generally find them finding time every single lap as they risk a little bit more through that corner and brake a little bit later into that one, and the quicker times, rather than a little bit wide there from the 35 Mercedes, rather than putting a platinum or a gold in and they can hit their marker straight away, it does take a little bit longer for these drivers to come to the boil, but it's all good experience, particularly around a track that they tested on earlier on the week, but it would have been very different conditions from this morning.
It's welcome back, by the way, for the 35 crew. This is Krypton Motorsports AMG, one of 3 of Mercedes' finest here, and they had a one-off appearance, I think it was Red Bull Ring, wasn't it?
Good memory.
We saw that car.
Yes, it was.
Quick times coming through, though. 1:58.193 now from Christoph Ulrich. Pizzucci in the Krypton car goes through, and his first offering is just 0.156 off that mark. So this is going to be a close session without a shadow of a doubt. Ebi Motors bails out after just the one fast lap. Now, if I remember correctly, I think Ebi Motors have qualified with both drivers before now in that car.
Yes.
Because they are both bronzes, are they
They
not?
have been allowed to in the past. They are both bronzes, yes. So maybe that's the plan, to get one out and other driver in, see who is quickest. So a straight fight between Paolo Venerossi and Alessandro Baccani. Certainly enough time left in the session to do that, or they may be changing Michelin tyres, but there is a strict regulation about how many tyres you can use in qualifying and the race. You don't want to be wasting too many brand new black round things.
It is going to be a driver change at Ebi Motors. The 2 Ferraris come blasting by. Still, it's Ulrich. Pianazzola from the number 8 Kessel Racing crew goes through now, and it's a much quicker time, 1:55.745. Big improvement too from Christoph Ulrich last time around, 0.636 of a second off that. So 1:55.7 plays 1:56.3 at the halfway point of this session.
LMP3's to come, remember. Still 7 3/4 minutes to go in this GT3 part of the race. Fabien Levert now for Lusick Racing, going second fastest in the number 71 car, so 1:56.2. And Christoph Ulrich up to third fastest in his Spirit of Race Ferrari. So we've got Ferraris first, second, third, and then a Mercedes fourth fastest. But the Ferrari 488 seems to be the car to have right now, with 8, 35 and 71 race numbers, first, second and third.
The majority of the sector times on the timing screens we're looking at, Johnny Palmer, are either purple or blue. That means improvements for the car or overall. This is going to change. The 8 from the 35, then the 71, 51, 7 and 99. Andrew Howard up to 6th fastest in the Aston Martin. But of all of those cars, there is barely a sector where they're not improving on the laps they're on now, but most particularly Pianazzola, who's gone purple in both the first and second sectors and will improve unless something dramatic happens towards the end of this lap for this car, the number 8 Kessel Racing Ferrari. In dominant form last year, this team, graduating to the LMS with 2 Ferrari 488 GTEs, but still coming back with a pair of cars in the Michelin Le Mans Cup.
Into late corner comes the number 8 Ferrari then, and now turning through bridge, the final corner, turn 14. Very wayward at senior, I noticed, was Pianazzola. He pushed so hard through that fast right-hander, all 4 wheels, well off the track, well off the curb as well. Did well to contain it, but I'm just wondering whether that lap will actually count. If it's an improvement, it's not as a result.
He's lost it. He lost that lap.
That'll be why.
Absolutely right. He had improved, but he loses that lap. Christoph Ulrich, meanwhile, goes second now under 3/10 back and just 3.5 back with a further improvement. Pizzucci goes through in the Krypton Motorsports AMG. But Fabien Laverne blitzes the lot of them with a 1:54.940. That's a much quicker time. 0.805 of a second better than anybody has managed. And frankly, even if Pianizzola's previous lap had counted, it wouldn't have been close to that. That's a mega time from Fabien Laverne.
Well, this could be the start of a very lucrative weekend for Fabien Laverne. He signed himself up for both major championships this weekend, and I presume all season with Lucich Racing, because he's racing in the ELMS category as well. So 71 going nicely, and 0.7 of a second he has as a buffer on the Krypton Motorsport Mercedes of Pizzucchi, number 35, and then Pianizzola in the Kessel Racing Ferrari dropping to third position. Another Ferrari now present in fourth place. So that 51 car, Christoph Ulrich, actually dropping a position. Roberto Panini in his number 7 Mercedes from Villorba Corsa is fifth.
Bad news, everybody else, as Laverne is going quicker again on this lap through Sector 1 and Sector 2. Both improvements, both purple sectors for the number 71 Lucich Racing team. That car does look spectacularly good in that red, white and black livery.
Well, get used to that paint scheme, because we're going to see it in GT3 and ELMS and GTE, I should say, specification this year. Again, a little bit wide coming out of Double Droite de Beausset, the right-hander at turns 9 and 10, but crucially kept a couple of tyres the right side of the white line, did Laverne. So I don't think he's running the risk of losing this lap because of that little exploration of the nearby scenery. And into Virage du Pont for the final time. 3.5 to go. He's going to have the rest of this lap. One more, possibly two more after this.
Will he need it? He's already 3/4 second up. This is going to be an improvement, is it? He didn't. He lost the time in the final sector. So no improvement that time around. In fact, lost 3/4 in that final sector.
Not sure where that was, unless he ran wide towards turns 13 and 14. 14 looked pretty clean, I have to say.
Yeah, the threat, for me at the moment, doesn't look to be coming at the moment from Pizzucci in second place. It looks to be coming from Christoph Ulrich in fourth place. So watch the lap that he's on at the moment. But he's gone quickest of all in the first sector, but doesn't really get it hooked up in the second sector. I think will improve on his fourth position if he can hold this lap together in that final sector. But here we know we're watching Andrew Howard. Still sixth, 1:57.144 for Andrew Howard. Comes to complete the lap now. There is an improvement in time but not position for Aston Martin, but he's into the 1:56s now, just a couple of tenths off Pampanini in the number 7 AMG.
Just exiting Beausset at turn 10 is the 51 then of Christoph Ulrich. Let's see what he can do with an absolute best through the first sector. Andrew Howard running in 6th position. Did improve, but not his position, as Graham mentioned. And the number 8 Ferrari of Sergio Pianizzola for Kessel Racing now heading into the final complex of corners at Virage du Lac. This could be an improvement, although not the cleanest line through. The left-hander at 13, rattling the curbs. He does so again out of 14 as well. So over the grid markings. And let's see what the number 8 car can do. Goes second, so to the front row in GT3 to join Fabien Laverne. But annoyingly, there's still 0.3 of a second between those two times.
Yeah, Ulrich did improve, but just a few hundredths shaved off that time. Top 4 now separated by just over 0.8 of a second. That's Lucich Racing from the number 8 Kessel Racing car. Then the Krypton AMG, Christoph Ulrich in the 51 Spirit of Race car. It's an improvement behind for Müller in the SPS Automotive Performance AMG. The 54 car goes up to 5th. It shuffles down the order. Pampanini in the number 7 Scuderia Villorba Corsa AMG, and Andrew Howard back down now to 7th, and under some threat, by the way, for that position from Baccani in the EB Motors Porsche, which is going quicker this time around.
Big old rattle across the curb that time for the Mercedes of Pizzucchi, and as a result, Pizzucchi cannot improve. He might have been onto something a bit more promising than that, because he managed to do a personal best through Sector 1. Meanwhile, pedalling very fastly down the Mistral straight now is Sergio Pianizzola. He's up through the first sector. Second sector's not too shabby at all, so this could potentially be an improvement if the oh no, he's off the track. He's ruined the lap because of that, and that's one of the laps, of course, that he had it was deleted earlier on for a similar mistake. Nowhere near as big a mistake, but clearly, if you don't get your line quite right into senior corner, did he get out onto the marbles here? Just a big wiggle from the rear, wasn't there? And then just had to arrest the moment. That could have been a far bigger spin than it turned out to be. And over the higher friction tarmac, but lap already ruined.
Car to watch as we get into the final 10 seconds of the session. So anybody starting a lap now will get another one in, but well, just a couple of seconds time that won't be the case. Watching Bakkani in the number 88 EB Motors cars, already improved from 8th up to 5th. He's going quicker again this time around. And I think certainly he's on a lap he can complete to complete the session.
Yep.
Pizzucci in the Krypton car on a good lap.
He is, but he just dropped again the car off the track at Signa, and that was all four wheels off. Not quite as bad as the number 8 Castellet Racing Ferrari a little while ago, with movement from all four wheels there in terms of lack of grip. And in the end, Pianazzola did incredibly well to prevent that from being a bigger moment. He pitted straight after that, unsurprisingly.
Yeah, so Laverne and Pianazzola complete their session 1 and 2 at this point. Can Bakkani do anything about that front row? I think he can't. Pizzucci 2 takes a checkered flag, stays 3rd. Ulrich going slightly quicker though. He's within reach of the 3rd position time here, with Bakkani behind going as quickly.
Yeah.
So that there's places up for grabs here from the 4th place, currently 51 Spirit of Race Ferrari, the 88 EB Motors Porsche. Andrew Howard back up into 6th, by the way, completes the session in 6th position, having gone quicker than Muller last time around in the Aston Martin. He'll start from row 3. No improvement from Bakkani. Is there going to be improvement though from Christoph Ulrich?
Cedric Mezar about to go over the line. He finds a bit more time, but no positions, unfortunately for him. So the 7 and the 51 cars now expected across the line. Here comes Pampanini for Scuderia Villorba Corsa, stays 8th. So just Christoph Ulrich now expected across the line, and Christoph Ulrich will stay in 4th position with no improvement to his time. So again, promise was shown for a lot of those latter laps, but they didn't emerge to any positional changes. Just the odd time improvement for Pianazzola and for Andrew Howard. And relatively late on, Cedric Mezal got his time down to a 1:57.997, but will start 9th as a result. These are the positions then. Lucich Racing starting their Michelin Le Mans Cup campaign with a pole position. Not a bad way to go about it. Car 71 and Fabien Leverne top marks. 0.3 of a second the gap back to the Kessel Racing Pianazzola Ferrari, which pitted just before the checkered flag was shown. And it's Pizzucci in the Krypton Motorsport 35 car finishing in 3rd place. So let's grab a word then down at Lucich Racing to find out the reaction. We'll head down to the pits now.
Well, Michael Mack has been looking on and very pleased with your teammates' performance.
Yeah, of course, he did an amazing job, and the team Lucich Racing have made a perfect car for us, so very good start of the weekend.
And the start for your partnership as well in the car.
Yeah, it's first time for me and Fabian to work together, so it's a very good start for that relationship.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Great to have Louise Beckett with us for the next 3 races for the Michelin Le Mans Cup and indeed for the European Le Mans Series, with Charlie on maternity leave. And congratulations to Charlie and the family. Little girl arrived as an early Christmas present. Fantastic stuff.
Great news, and as you say, we will have Charlie George back a little later on, but Louise Beckett, she's done one or 2 of these championships before.
I've heard of her before.
I think I have.
Yeah.
ELMS's gain, I would say, for a few races till Barcelona, which is the other news breaking this weekend is that Barcelona's going to be an evening race.
It is going to race into the night.
Saturday night, 6:30 start. Well, everyone in Spain loves nighttime activity.
Absolutely.
So, and to be honest, whenever I've been there for 24-hour races in the past to Circuit de Barcelona, the crowd in the evening is phenomenal. And that's sort of its Spanish culture. So embracing that, embracing the fact that it's going to be pretty warm in July in Spain, in Castellet. So why not race till 10:30 at night? So that's the plan, folks. So first for a little while anyway. First nighttime race and on a Saturday.
Well, there's going to be no messing about. We're going to go straight into LMP3 qualifying, and LMP3 in the Michelin Le Mans Cup is coming of age. 21 cars aboard the good ship Michelin Le Mans Cup for this season. Some familiar names amongst the teams and drivers, and some new names as well. Goodly mix between the Ligier and Norma chassis. The Normas have been pretty quick here in testing. What can the Ligiers do about them?
Under 15 seconds.
The stunning livery on that 22 United Autosport car.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pit exit is green. Please remind drivers, any lap we see or any lap which is reported by the marshals as being done beyond the track limits, we will immediately delete the lap.
That's the familiar tones and the familiar stance on track limits from race director Eduardo Freitas.
Yes, that's not a new message that we're hearing there. We do tend to, well, everyone gets the reminder, and I think that's quite right as they head out onto track, because they've had 2 free practice sessions, each of an hour in length, and I'm sure there was a reminder at the start of those 2. 16.2 degrees Celsius, that's a decent temperature, and it is getting warmer as we're now at midday, in fact, but the temperature will increase even after this time of day, and a goodly mixture of Ligiers and Normas here. I've just counted 9 on my little sheet here of Norma M30s, so that will be another 11? 12.
So we've got a quick shot there of the number 14 car from RRM Sports, the reigning champions, of course, in the European Le Mans Series in LMP3. And the name against this car is Olsen, familiar name from last season, but not this Olsen. This is Tom Olsen. That is Christian Olsen's father, who will be sharing the car with him in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Sort of look and learn, son, look and learn. Both drivers, by the way, both Tom and Christian, coming out of the historic Formula 3 grids as the stream of LMP3s come 2-3 wide down Mistral for the first time. This is going to get rough and ready, I think.
Well, that's the way we like it, and if it's not, I'll be complaining at the end of the session. They're not the only father and son team, I was thinking, because the Alexander Talkanitsa Senior Junior is back in the LMP3 category for AT Racing in their number 90 machine. Not doing ELMS this year, both the Alex Talkanitsas, but it's great to have them on board for Michelin Le Mans Cup. Again, I think that's a full season deal. Already had a couple of minutes before a flying lap can start, so 15 minutes looks a lot on paper, but you've actually got to get out on the track, do an installation lap, and then start your flyer, and hope that that goes well. And even at that point, there's just 10 minutes to go then. Ooh, and a little bit wide from one of the United cars. That was number 23, exploring the scenery. That was Rob Hodes of America, who's sharing with Garrett Grist, the man from Ontario.
And another new name, Rob Hodes, coming to Europe. An increasing number of people from North America coming and taking a look at this package, whether it be the Michelin Le Mans Cup or indeed the European Le Mans Series. And some familiar names we'll be hearing when we get to ELMS qualifying later. For now, it's all about these fabulous little Nissan V8, for the moment, engined LMP3s. Final full year for these cars in this trim before we see the evolution of the LMP3 cars. And if you're lucky enough to be going to the Le Mans 24 Hours this year, you'll see all 4 new cars on display.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It's another incredible effort from United Autosports, bringing 7 cars on site because they have a busy ELMS program planned too. But 3 cars in this race. There are a couple effectively from Nielsen Racing, but one of them badged as Grain Market Racing for sponsorship reasons, the number 20 machine. And faster times still yet to come through, because the flood of cars that left the pit lane a little while ago have only reached turn 8, the first of them being the RLR M Sport number 14 car then of Tom Olsen.
There'll be trouble, I'm afraid, for the number 12 Euro International car. No transponder in that car. There is a story behind that. We'll come to that a little later. But it's been a dash to get that car to the track this morning. So the number 12 car in the hands at the moment of J.M. Littman. The international effort. Well, unfortunately, there's no way of scoring that car because it doesn't have a transponder to actually click the timing. We're waiting for the first cars to come through for their first flying laps.
Very busy at the end of the lap now on my digital track map, because the 14 car leading at least 3 other machines. There's a bit of a gap then back to the first of the 2 Graf cars, which there it is, turning right, number 39, and that will be Adrian Schiller doing the driving in his Norma.
And it's Schiller that goes to the top from that first group. The number 39 Graf Racing Norma, a 1:56.915.
So Tom Olsen doing a 2:01.3, puts him currently in 7th position, but Schiller fastest. Then it's Jacopo Barata for BHK Motorsport. BHK, brand new team to the Michelin Le Mans Cup as well, number 16. And Eric Trouillet doing the qualifying in the number 9 Graf Norma. That car currently 3rd position. And the 96 Cool Racing car, again 2 Cool Racing entered machines.
3 Cool Racing entered machines this year.
Right. Yes, there are. Number 4, number 74, number 96.
A silvered blue finish on all 3 cars, and the difference between them you'll see with the colour trim. One yellow, one orange. I think one is green.
Philippe Chimadoma doing the driving in number 96, who's just gone. Well, he went 4th briefly. Now being beaten by Jim Maguire, who slots into 4th place in car number 22. So that's the best United Autosports qualified car so far. Rob Hodes going through in 10th position as DKR Engineering slot into 3rd place, because now Kio Racing with their number 43 car going top with Joachim Fried of Sweden. He's the bronze, joining Michael Markussen from Denmark in car 43. That's a Danish outfit, isn't it? Yes, Kio Racing.
So it's a Ligier to the top for the first time in the session, and Kio Racing, a sub-time entrant in the Michelin Le Mans Cup, but looking to actually nail down a full season effort here. I hope they do. A worthy addition to the grid. Jim Kierman in the DKR Norma was on a fly, is on another fly now. Schiller goes back though to the top of Tommingen scoring, 18 thousandths of a second only at a Barato in the BHK Ligier, which had just grabbed the top position. So I think there's a degree of drafting going on here.
Almost certainly so, because again we're utilising the full length Mistral straight this year. So that's 1.1 miles that you can potentially latch onto the back of somebody and just increase your lap time by a couple of tenths.
I was about to actually say, I wonder what's happened here to Mikey Benham. He'd been quite quiet, but he's just lost a lap there, had gone way to the top of Tommingen scoring for the 153s. But Mikey Benham we're seeing on track now in the 25 car. This is the Lannon Racing car, won last year at the Road to Le Mans, the first race of the weekend. Scenes of joy from Mikey and his regular co-driver Duncan Tappy. There's one of the United cars there, is it? There's the 23 car that's
off
spun
the
out,
road.
and there's damage to that car as well.
Yes, it looked like part of the nose may be missing from the car. I've just noticed the margin, you know, between the first 2 cars in qualifying. It's only 18 thousandths of a second. United, no, that wasn't the United car going off the road at Signes, so that doesn't explain the incident.
No.
Was that the Kio Racing car? Yeah, number 43.
We've got a new leader. Kierman in the DKR Engineering number 3 car goes 1.5 seconds clear. It's a 1:53.892.
Francois Kerman of France joining Laurence Her, who has vast experience in this particular category, but it is Rob Hodes who's been spotted stopped on track. That car cannot be left there.
Which means that we're not going to see very much more in terms of improvement from many of these cars. It's a red flag as well with 7 minutes to go.
That's my point. The car couldn't be left there, so we're going to have to stop the session, and it's still, I've got a decent amount left on it, 7 minutes virtually.
And that will be gutting for the number 9 Graf crew. Eric Trouillet was on 2 purple sectors. The couple of these teams really getting these Michelin tyres switched on. There you are. That's the debris. Is that from the nose of the United car?
Well, that looks like a light pod almost.
It does.
You know, it's broken away from the nose. So does that suggest, because it's so far away from any of the barriers, does that suggest contact
I think it probably
into the
does.
right-hander?
So Rob Hode's car has moved on from the scene of whatever incident there was, but with the debris there, Eduardo Freitas has chosen to actually red flag the session.
Virage du Comte that it's happened at, Camp Corner. just after the hotel bend, and yes, the front right portion of the nose of Rob Hode's machine is missing, exposing all of the Michelin tyre. So at least the car's running again, and he can get it back to the pits. You can change the nose on an LMP3 car rather quickly.
You can.
So, and remember that the crews, I think they're operating remotely in front of the ELMS pits, aren't they? They haven't got their own garages here.
They've not, but of course there are an awful lot of United hands that can be put onto that car.
Yeah, so where teams have got cars in both championships, they will have quite a lot of garage space that they can utilise. So Brave Marshall's heading out now onto track to retrieve the bits of the United Autosports car and that section of nose which carries the headlight and also obviously supplies quite a lot of downforce on the... It's Ligier, isn't it?
It is a Ligier.
Yeah, 3 Ligiers for United Autosports this year.
United Autosports, the UK agent for the Ligier brand, and operating those cars in the LMP2 and LMP3, of course. Clock has stopped with 6 minutes and 55 seconds remaining of the 15-minute session. And Francois Kearman, it is with a mighty advantage at the moment in the number 3 DKR Engineering Norma, ahead of a similar M30 Norma of Graf Racing, Adrian Schiller. And then after that, it gets rather closer. Barato in the BHK Motorsports Ligier. The first of the Ligier's number 16 car running third at the moment. Then the Kia Racing car, Jochen Fried, who was at top of the times not so very long ago. John Schaumann in the Cool Racing car, the number 4 car. The John Schaumann moving over from Brookspeed last year, of course, taking that car with him to a new team.
Marcello Marattiotto comes next in the DKR Engineering Norma, and then it is the number 20 Grain Market Racing entered Mark Crader car, who is sharing with Alex Mortimer this season. Crader, though, the bronze, Mortimer is the silver.
Into the pits. You may pick up the pace, all cars into the pits so that we can resume the session.
And this should be a relatively quick turnaround because I think the marshals have pretty much done the work that is necessary there, retrieving the debris from this car, number 23, Rob Hodes. Give the track a quick sweep, but I don't think there's any difficult liquids down on track or anything like that that will take some powder dry to mop up. I think it's just a case of picking some Ligier X parts from the track, and that nose is now going to be unclipped. There's also some suspension adjustment taking place on Rob Hode's car, I noticed, by United Autosports.
United Autosports on Twitter saying there was indeed contact on Rob in the 23 car. That's their view of that incident. We didn't see it. We'll repeat just what they've said publicly.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it looks like, and I'm not apportioning blame, but it looks like Rob has made contact with the car in front of him. Yeah. But you get the concertina effect very regularly into Cap Corner there, Virage du Camp.
What we haven't seen yet is any concurrent damage, if you like. Watching in the rear, there are 2 cars together, and that is a green DKR Engineering car, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I would say that car has gone up the inside and has taken the nose off. That is the DKR Engineering car.
Yes, they were almost shoulder to shoulder, weren't they, coming through the right-hander at Virage du Camp. So, whereas I had visualised it in the braking area, really, for the right-hander, it looks like it's happening between 5 and 6, which is a bizarre incident, muscling them with each other for track position. But you reckon that was the green... Now, what number is that? Number 3?
3 car. That's Marattiotto, isn't it?
No, that's the Kearman car.
It's the Kearman car.
That's why it's interesting, because the provisional pole lap, rather, cannot have been done on that lap because Kearman was so slow leaving the scene. The green flag's out again, by the way. I thought the number 3 was orange, and there is another DKR. Right, it's the 5 car. So you were right. You just got the colours mixed around. But Marcello Marattiotto would have been the car that was involved in the incident. Green flag is waved, so we're back underway again, and the 6 minutes and 55 seconds start to tick by with Francois Kearman of France fastest in the orange DKR Engineering number 3. Adrian Schiller second fastest for Graf, car number 39, and the green DKR Engineering car is in the pits.
With damage.
Minus a nose as well, but I think they've taken that off. It will have had damage on the left side.
Well, they may well have to actually sprint across to the back of the paddock, where the paddock for the Michelin Le Mans Cup is, for any spares they've got. That's not the work of a moment. It's not too far away.
Indeed.
This is our first chance to see on camera the number 20 car. This is the Nielsen racing operator, but grey market car. Alex Mortimer we'll see in the race tomorrow, but at the moment this is his driving partner. And just looking where that car is currently running in 7th with Mark Crader. Chance to meet Mark for the first time yesterday. These two have been racing in Radicals.
So is Mark the grey market bit of that then?
He is indeed.
Yes. Joined by Alex Mortimer, as you say. Now, Rob Hodes is clambering out with the 23 car. Doesn't look brilliantly hopeful here that he's going to rejoin the session. There are only 5 minutes to go, and maybe they think the required work on that car is going to leave them 0 time in the session to try and better at the time he's already got, which is a 1:59.1.
Did seem to clatter it quite hard as well, so might well be some problems in that corner other than just bodywork. Doc Bunkle, the brains of the LMP3 effort, very experienced race engineer. Side by side here, two of the cool racing cars.
Yeah, well, using each other, aren't they?
Aren't they just?
96 behind 74, trying to get the draft, and then the 74 allowed car number 96, which is being driven by Philippe Chimodomo of Switzerland. So he slots through, and it's his turn to try and set a good lap, and then maybe he'll return the favour next time around. 4.5 to go. This time's disappearing very quickly, Graham.
It is, and I think this is, if it's going to come together, it's going to come together right at the death of this session. Drivers getting heat back into these Michelin tyres. There's the number 20 car again. One of those liveries, that looks so much better at speed. It does. You think flat grey, yeah, but it really does look the part. That number 20 car. It's
also got sort of that uneven livery with the black on the front left light pod, the grey on the right, sort of in diagonal stripes. But it looks quite good from above as well. I see what they're trying to do there.
I think that's actually replacement pod, isn't it?
No, I don't think. I think it's part. I wondered, and then I thought actually I think it's in the design, because there's a little bit of black around the dorsal fin as well.
Yep.
I thought, this had a crash earlier on in the week, but I think that's how it was first designed.
But the incident, by the way, between the number 5 DKR engineering car.
Another car off track. This is at turn 3, or turn 4, actually, the left-hand bit.
That is J.M. Lippmann in the Euro International car.
Right.
It does look a bit like a Graf racing car. There's a good reason for that. We'll explain in a moment. But J.M. Lippmann rejoining in front of what at the moment is the pole-sitting number 3 DKR engineering car. New look in the driver lineup for DKR, but pretty similar results at the moment from last season. Dominant through last year.
Yeah, it looked like JM had a moment at 3 and then was recovering at turn 4.
Watching Barato here in this BHK number 16 car.
On for a good one, potentially.
Yeah,
and he's backed it off, though.
He has.
I think he's easing it back to try and go again, but he was already up through the first sector, purple in fact.
Had he made a mistake and knew it.
And and a personal best through the middle sector, but I think this final sector will illustrate that was not the perfect run, and now got to concentrate entirely on the next lap. He could squeeze an extra one out of this.
He's got a clear track in front of him as well, so this could be a good opportunity to improve. We have got the timing screen is lighting up now with quicker times. Barato goes second with that.
That's
so it wasn't
not bad.
It wasn't a huge backing off, was it? It's a single second
he
behind
did back
now.
off, in fact.
But looking at Jochen Fried and Mark Crader, both going with purple sectors briefly there. Kielman, though, is improving on this lap.
Great lap from Charlie Martin there in the Racing Experience car. So she's in for her first Michelin Le Mans Cup experience, and car number 11 now potentially on for a front row start.
Fantastic.
Giacomo Barato for BHK Race Motorsport, far from easing off in that final sector, is just a second off the pace.
Mikey Benham.
Lanham Racing to the top of the times in car 25. That's the one that looks a little bit like an LMP1 Toyota with the red and the white livery, and Lanham Racing late to join the session. However, making it all count now, 0.7 of a second is the margin.
Jochen Fried briefly goes up to 4th, but Adrian Schiller goes 3rd in the number 39 Graf racing car. We said it would come a light in the last couple of minutes, and it has. A minute and 20 seconds to go, and the times are changing all over the place here Kierman looks like he's on a charge, looking to get back that pole position. We've got 3/4 of a second to make up to do that. Mike Benham is quick again this time around.
So tight between Francois Kerman and Adrian Schiller. You're talking 300ths of a second. That's all between the DKR Engineering Norma and the Graf Norma, but it's Norma M30s locking out the top 4 positions now. Joachim Fried in the best Ligier for Keo Racing is 5th.
Kierman goes to the top again, and it's a 1:51 this time, 0.917. Another second and a half carved out of the best time in this session. So a great lap there. 1:51.917 plays 1:53.132.
A huge gaggle of cars now heading through Double Droit Dubose, which is the 9 and 10 sequence, and then into turn 11. Now, are they going to be able to squeeze out an extra lap? There's just 20 seconds on the clock. There'll be a handful about to head over the line, including car 11. Charlie Martin improves again to go into 3rd position.
And watch Adrian Schiller, he's on a flyer as well. Purple in the middle sector, looking to put that lap together. Mike Benham's going quicker as well. So 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th, all with quicker sector times as we stand right now. This could all change as the checkered flag comes out. This will be Mike Benham's last opportunity to improve. He's 1.2 seconds back from that pole position lap at the moment. He does not improve after a poor 3rd sector.
Naj Hussain is over the line. His car topped one of the free practice sessions earlier on in the week. Big leap there from Mario Maratiotto in the DKR Engineering car, and also Benham to 2nd position. Eric Truyer's managed to pull one out of the bag late on to go briefly 3rd, but it's going to be 4th, and Adrian Schiller to 2nd fastest now as well. So did Kerman improve again? No,
he's not through.
He hasn't come through for the final time.
But I think he is going to improve. He's currently 9/10 of a second clear of second fastest Adrian Schiller. Then Mike Benham and Eric Trullier currently on the 2nd row, but Charlie Martin is going quicker this time around. And we've got other improvers further down the timing and scoring screens.
Martin Crader, better lap for Grain Market Racing. That was his final effort, but car 20 should start in 6th position, but it depends how many that are still to complete the lap. There's quite a few of them. I reckon 6 more cars due across the line.
Kierman bails out of that final lap. He feels he's done enough.
Interesting. Okay.
Charlie Martin's still to come home.
Yes, in the number 11 car. 16, Giacomo Barato just exiting Virage du Pont now with the finish line in sight. The car 16 will not improve. It does improve its time, but not its position. So Barato stays in 7th.
This is Charlie Martin coming to complete the session.
And over the line Charlie goes, the Leicester-based driver, and up to 4th place. The Racing Engineering machine number 11, then a 2nd row start.
6 Normas at the top of timing and scoring. 6 Normas.
Yeah.
DKR from Graf, from Lannon, from Racing Experience, the 2nd Graf car, then the Nielsen Racing car. That was right at the end there. It was Tony Wells actually just
I wonder where he'd gone.
Crader.
Yeah, Tony Wells then, who was down in 17th before that final lap of the session, but Tony Wells for Nielsen Racing up to 6th place in car number 2. Left it very, very late, and he was just about the final car that went over the line prior to the checkered flag coming out. There's a big queue of them, and the checkered flag sort of fell between about 6 cars, and he locked in and made it count.
It did all come together right at the end, though, but there's no denying the real pace there came from Francois Kierman. Almost a full second clear, and that lap just came from seemingly nowhere.
Phenomenal effort from DKR Engineering. We've only ever had DKR cars win this championship in 2017 and 2018, and they have started this season much like the previous ones. Here's the final classification then for the LMP3 qualifying, and it sees Francois Kerman at the top of the times with a 1:51.917, and it's very nearly a second clear of everybody else. 0.8 of a second is the margin from Kerman to Adrian Schiller in the Graf car number 39. Everybody else working their way into pit lane via a brand new pit lane entry road, we should mention as well. That's been redesigned to make it a little bit safer. So you actually come into the pits now just prior to turn 13, rather than going through the right hander at 14 and then ducking right. So it's a more natural entry into the pits, I would argue, and seems to have been received well by the drivers too. There is a good view of the pit lane entry. In fact, it's still a bit of a wiggle once you've done the entry section. You have to turn right and left rather awkwardly. Here are the Results then after the LMP3 qualifying. It was stopped by a red flag, but DKR Engineering quickest with a 159.9. Adrian Schiller for Graf, 0.895 of a second slower. Lannon Racing and Mikey Benham thought he might have snapped pole position. He'll have to settle for a third place start instead. And alongside that car, Racing Experience's Charlie Martin, the Racing Experience crew hailing from Luxembourg. Fifth position also for a Graf car, Eric Trouillet leaving it late, but not as late as Tony Wells, who's managed to slam that Nielsen Racing car into sixth place very late on, jumped up about 11 positions really late in the day. Grain Market Racing will start seventh ahead of BHK Motorsport and Jacopo Barato, who was briefly on pole position. And then it's Cool Racing and Keo Racing completing the top 10.
Excellent stuff from all involved there, but in particular, congratulations to a couple of newcomers to the championship, scoring fantastic qualifying results. Francois Kim, and of course, with that pole position performance, but also Charlie Martin on the second row for Racing Experience, a team, a very family team indeed. Lots of family members from the Hauser family involved in the running of that car. We've got the two brothers Hauser sharing the driving duties alongside Charlie Martin for this season. David Hauser, well, we'll talk about him in another show, something of an internet hero. We'll come to that one. But, qualifying, though, well, dominated there. DKR Engineering, they just seem to know how to dial these cars in. And I think that, Johnny, was them, whatever they were doing to turn on those tyres after that red flag.
Yes.
Because those times came in a rush, but they certainly seemed to just find that second and more out of just about nowhere.
Grid combined on the screen at the moment, and Lusick Racing will start from 12th position in amongst all the LMP3s. So even more credit should be given to Fabien Laverne for that tremendous lap in his Ferrari from Lusick Racing. We heard from his teammate a little earlier on, Mikkel Mack.
It's going to be interesting, isn't it, to see how Fabien deals with the challenge of racing what look very similar cars, the GT and the GT3 cars, but aren't electronically very different, the GT3 car. No anti-lock braking in the GTE car, and that has caught out drivers making that transition in the past, so we'll keep an eye on that one.
Races today, remember, so not a great deal of time for the teams to turn around their cars, turn them from qualifying machines into full enduro racers, and a 4 o'clock start is billed for the opening round of the year for the Michelin Le Mans Cup, 4 o'clock till 6 o'clock local time. And this our first visit of a couple to France, because over the week of the 13th, 14th and 15th of Le Mans, of June rather, at Le Mans, we will be partaking in the Road to Le Mans event, a chance for these cars in LMP3 and GT3 regulations to combat the full Circuit de la Sarthe configuration. So look forward to that, but also trips to Italy and Monza, to Barcelona in Spain for the first time, to Spa in Belgium, and the Algarve to Portimao in Portugal when the season is completed at the end of October. So 7 rounds in total, and the grid is set for the first one. Just a few hours away now, and kept us guessing till the very last moment.
européenne, non série. Pour l'instant, on stop parce que pour les moteurs,